Thank you. We also had some things, some discussion topics that we added in the very beginning. Do you want to just go through those quick now?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Chad, I think you added the ones around scheduling if you want to voice those.
Yeah, sure. Hi everybody. We have a all staff retreat March 11th through 15th, and then you have your spring break March 16th through 24th. So just wanted to call out that on our end, we need to cancel the one that's during the first week, and for your end, you need to cancel the ones during the second. I don't know if there's something that you all are going to want to do about the fact that we basically won't really be in contact for 2 weeks straight, halfway through the semester. I don't know if you want to double up before or after or something. Something else I wanted to call out is that the UX team members on the GitLab end have a standing meeting every other Wednesday that's at this same time. So that may affect our ability to join this consistently. I don't know if you guys have availability on other days. I think on our end, it looks like this same time on Thursdays would work, but I know, you guys have a class schedule that is fixed and not up to you. So, I don't know if that would work or not, but async communication methods, like if we get a Slack team set up, I see that you guys have a Notion set up, may help with that. But yeah, I just wanted to call that out. I don't know if there's any schedule flexibility on your end, but
Yeah, I think honestly using Slack or Notion would be really good for the 2 weeks that we're both gone, I guess. Because we can literally just like update you guys on everything we've done during that week on like either Notion and also like give you guys a notification in Slack. And if there's any problems or discussion that needs uh further to be carried out, then we can either do it like in Slack or kind of just like write it down. So we probably don't need to have like a meeting. And then in terms of the meeting time, I don't know if everybody is free on Thursday, 11 to 12, but then we can definitely do another when to meet. Another time that we are free is Monday, 11 to 12, that like all of us are free on the Tufts end.
I could do Monday 11 to 12.
yeah, I don't want to speak for everybody on the GitLab end, but generally we don't have internal meetings on Mondays and Fridays most of the time. So I'm I could be free then. But I know a lot of people also use that time for other things or for heads down work because we don't usually have internal meetings. So um,
Yeah, because it is hard to coordinate between, I guess, like 9 people. But I think on our end, we're gonna have a discussion and then we're gonna get back to you in terms of meeting time as soon as possible.
well, I mean, I think we have a strong async culture at GitLab.
Mm.
So, if this is the time that works for you all, the student group, then I think we just, make sure we're all aware of the fact that not all of us on the GitLab end will always be able to join. I mean, obviously, Michael is in Australia, so he's not going to be able to join at this time anyway. Um, but just, it makes the async methods that we're using to communicate more important for that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. We also have an update on the Slack channel. Chad did some investigation on that and it looks like we're able to be added to a Slack channel if you want to start it on your end and then invite us all through emails. It's been very slow to get our request approved on our side to create that Slack channel. So I'm sorry about that, but we could use, if you want to create one and then invite us, that should work. And all of our emails are at the top of the doc as well.
Yeah, the question on our end was like, are we allowed to join a different Slack workspace with our work email? And I think so. I tried it with a different Slack workspace that I'm an admin of. I invited myself and I was able to join and I didn't like get in trouble and it worked. So I think it should be fine.
Yeah, if we end up going for like we invite you to our workspace, I think maybe I need to like do some more research because right now, like for what I can create is that like the Slack workspace only lasts for like 30 days and then it will like close. So yeah, I think I need to figure out how that works before.
So something to point out on our end as well. This is another GitLab culture thing. We
Mhm.
are a very strongly handbook first organization, and as part of that, our company actually has our Slack set to also have things expire after 30 days, so that
Oh,
people rely on Slack as a like repository for answers, and people go to the handbook as a single source of truth.
mhm.
That's going to happen either way. If we invited you to our Slack, things would also disappear after 30 days.
Oh, okay, I see.
So I would encourage you, if there are things that you want to keep track of and that you want a single source of truth for, use that notion that you set up.
Okay, sounds good. So I can after this meeting I can like invite all of you to the Slack channel I already created. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that works. Let's try
Okay.
that, see what happens. And I can still do some work on my end to try to get our request approved, but I'd rather just have a channel set up now just so we can talk now,
Okay.
unblock you if you have questions. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a comment that I haven't used Slack across workspaces. Like we have channels shared with customers and stuff. But if we had one like this, it would probably be able, we could probably be able to access those channels from our base workspaces. So I don't know if this is the kind of thing we could set up. I think it's probably Gina what you initially wanted to set up with the students, I guess.
Last time I had to, in order to even set up a new channel with external, like people outside of GitLab, I had to get that request approved. And the people on IT had to make that channel and invite everybody first. And it just showed up in the channels within the GitLab workspace. So I don't really know how this is going to work. I guess we'll just see how it goes, and then
Okay,
I don't know.
I can answer that question because I just joined it. So it's going to show up in the left side of Slack as another icon. It is subtly different from the current GitLab Tanuki icon. So enjoy that moment, UX folks. But I'm in that now. You'll have to switch back and forth between our GitLab instance and the other one labeled GitLab. We might want to rename that one GitLab/Tufts.
Okay. What else? Yeah, and then we just Amy added some items for every week now, just some questions to understand successes that you've had, any blockers, etc. So do you want to go through those things that you wrote down?
You
Tough
meaning
side.
me?
Sorry,
Okay.
tough the tough students.
Hi. I have a few questions regarding the user research. Because we've seen that you already have lots of like existing research and also results, but we are just wondering, what areas of research are not yet conducted on GitLab's side that we can fill in the gap.
I think it depends on what you want the scope of this project to be. So
Yeah.
the research that we've added to that document was based on that benchmarking study that one of our UX researchers ran. And that focuses on workflows that are more, I guess, across multiple features rather than just focusing on the GitLab issue boards. So I know you had additional questions on the scope of the project too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should narrow down the scope and then figure out what research you would want to do from there. What are your ideas as to like the scope? I know we made it very broad when we gave you the problem. So is there anything that you'd be most interested in looking at improving with the boards?
I think based on my own experience, because there's one time I tried to like create an issue in the issue board, and then well, this is just an idea. It's not like just proposing it, but I think the layout of creating an issue, like the little, I guess, what would you call like sign up form, maybe we can improve on some of the features in terms of like usability and also like I guess clarity. Another thing is we probably can dive into the tags, like the little small, very colorful tags. But yeah, like if anyone else have ideas, we can also discuss it. It's just like from my end.
I would encourage you guys, I mean, first of all, I mean, you know, other GitLab folks, correct me if I'm wrong on this, and also, you know, you guys have been talking with your professor about this, but I think it's, you know, I think it's up to you to determine what the scope of this is. It's not for us to dictate. But I would encourage you to do some research first to figure out what problem you want to solve. Don't decide on a problem up front and then go research it. We've kind of laid out some things that we've heard of, some things that we know about. I would encourage you to dig into those and see if you can find a thing where you're like, oh, yeah, that would be a good one for us to address. You know, kind of go a little bit wide first, then narrow down to the problem, and then go a little wide on your solution possibilities, and then narrow down on a solution.
Yeah, I think this brings me to a question that we kind of discussed in our team meeting because we saw that there are a lot of different like pain points and like feature requests across different parts of the product in the document. So I'm kind of curious, like if this is the type of spec that GitLab designers typically get. Okay, then like how would you guys like let's say approach kind of digesting the information here and prioritizing which problem would be like most worthwhile for solving?
One way we prioritize the problems is by severity. We use these specific, I'm going to send you the definitions, another link, but we have definitions as to severity level of usability. So for something that, for example, if the user cannot perform their task, then like at all without any help, that would be severity 1 because they cannot complete that task. Versus if something is confusing, but they can still complete it, that would be severity 2. So let me send you those. The other way that we prioritize things is with our product managers. They're very great at prioritizing and helping us figure out which one to focus on first. Maybe for this project, you could use our severity levels to figure out which one to focus on. Let me get you the link now.
And you know, I think kind of a little bit of a view into sort of the black box of what that product manager is doing to determine that severity is they're looking at like the jobs that users need to accomplish that they want to use our product for. Like, what is the thing that they need to do in their work that we're helping them do? And trying to determine how well the solution that we have already helps them do that and seeing where there are gaps. And then prioritizing which of those gaps are the most important in helping them do their job effectively.
So would it make sense? Because I know in the resources page, there's like from the different insights, there's like the different, like for example, like document levels of effort where it has like a severity of like 4.5 out of 5. Those ones, like would it make sense to like go through those and like kind of look at each severity and like kind of scope down on like which problem we want to tackle based on those?
I think that would be a great place to start. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and also, I don't know if you all have access to this or if it's something we could share. But you know, we have a recording of last year's like capstone presentation to our internal UX group, I think before they presented to their professors. I wasn't here yet. I joined the company in October, but I've watched that recording. And just so you know, they didn't like figure out what solution they were going to work on until halfway through this semester. You know, they kind of went wide and like looked at what problem they wanted to figure out and figured out their problem in like, you know, Aprilish, March or something. So
Yeah.
no pressure to be like, oh my God, we don't have our like hypothesis that we're working on yet at this point. Like that's okay, you know. A big part of working in software, especially on the product and design side, is sitting with ambiguity and being okay with that and like working through it.
If you want also, I know that there was a lot of research already done, but if you would like to meet with users and just give them a task, create a board to plan, like, whatever, we can help you. First of all, we can help you create what those tasks should look like. Secondly, if you want to just see them using a board and trying to do it themselves, that's definitely something that we could help you do as well. That's the last group did that to try to get an understanding of like in person while watching someone use pipelines, figure out where they're struggling within that process of creating a pipeline. So yeah, reach out if that's something that you want to do. It's probably going to take you about 2 to 3 weeks. So it also depends on what your timeline is looking like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be really helpful. And then the other thing that we're wondering about is whether you guys have any like UX research recordings of how people use these products and like how these insights came to be.
Yes. So also another thing I need to get the NDA. Our legal teams, I guess, are talking on both the Tufts end and the GitLab end. And in order for us to give you access to that recording, we need the NDA to be sent because it's confidential right now. So let me get back to you on that. I'll take a look at that today and see if we can do that.
Thank you.
One thing that I don't think would block you on our end with anything process-wise, if you want to start trying to talk with users, is I recently discovered that there is a GitLab subreddit that is loosely associated with us. It's not an official thing run by GitLab, but I think there's a GitLab employee who's like the mod of it. You could probably, you know, if you had like a very simple, you know, Google form or something for recruiting, you could probably post there and say like, hey, we're some Tufts students. We're like running a project. We want to do something about like boards in GitLab. Anybody interested? You'd probably get some strangers on the internet who use GitLab who would want to complain to you about it.
I think another question that the team had about the user research is from our last meeting. I think someone put it down, like the team members' emails of that are working on like project management, so like more on the board side of things. I'm curious if we have any like specific questions about the usability benchmarking done for issue boards. Should we just like reach out to, I think that's Danica, who's a senior UX researcher for that? Or yeah, just mostly like questions about the research.
Hi, so it was me who put the 3 names in emails. I see you've also asked if she's been involved. I can't answer that, but all the 3 people that I added said, you know, they're happy to help and you can reach out to them directly. If you like, I don't know, I can extend an invite for them to join these meetings. You know, not all would be able. I know the PM has a regular like customer meeting that sometimes runs over this time, so that might not always be possible. But both Danica and Nick and Gabe, the PM, are based in the US, so yeah, they might be available in time zones. But yeah, it's up to you. Like we're here to kind of make it easier for you to make those connections, but also use those emails if you want.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, and I guess, yeah, other than user research, we were also interested about just how you guys like, well, first off, like if you guys use issue boards, and then secondly, like how do you use issue boards? Because we discovered that, yeah, GitLab has like all of their like issues are open, and so it was really cool to like see what that was like. But we're just curious like how you guys use issue boards, and what are some of the things that you set up for an issue?
So I'm happy to show you. I don't know if you want it, and if you want it now. So
Sure.
all right.
Yep.
Let me share my screen then. I'll leave the links to those boards when I'm done. But you will be you'll be able to access them all. Hold up. All right. So I added a caveat in the agenda that technical writers are going to be using issue boards slightly differently than most of the people in engineering. But so I have 3 examples for you. The first one, this one is an issue board for the group project management that I've already listed people from for you. And the groups are how teams in GitLab are organized, and like each group works on specific features, parts of the product that are more or less self-organized. And so here, for example, you can see this board is called Plan Kanban, and Plan is the name of like the bigger bucket in which a group is in GitLab, and it's scoped to these labels: DevOps Plan, Group Project Management. They have double colons, and so this means that these are scoped labels, the same as workflow labels here, but they don't render as nicely in this bar. And this board is also scoped to milestone started. We have specific milestones that you can filter for, or some special like that you can select started or upcoming, or any or none. And so this is one view. And this is one of the boards that the engineering and the engineering team and the PM works on. And so, for example, I use this one very rarely, because this is about moving the issues between like parts of the workflow. Is it in development? Is it in review? Or is it being deployed? So this is more useful to people like the product managers or engineering managers to see how feature development is progressing. As technical writers, we cover various groups. And so, for example, I have a board scoped only to my groups. Here I'm filtering issues in the gitlab.org group, GitLab group, which contains different projects, but we primarily work in the GitLab project. This is where GitLab's most of the GitLab code is in that project of this application that we're looking at. And so here I only have 3 columns scoped to labels for the 3 groups that I cover as technical writer. If the million labels here are scary, we can also hide them. And I'm interested in issues labeled documentation, because these are the ones that I am or will be working with. And again, I scoped this board to the upcoming milestone, which means, which is quite similar to started, but it means the one that's ending the soonest in case there are multiple that have start dates in the past but haven't ended. And so I use this to more or less judge the upcoming work for me for the milestone, which lasts around a month in GitLab. And finally, the third board that I use shows all issues assigned to me, again in the gitlab.org group. And here I have a couple different columns, lists. I mostly use the ones for specific milestones. So 16.9 is the closest upcoming milestone. Next 1 to 3 releases is also a milestone that we have, which is like a bucket for things that are, that you want to work on soon-ish, but you're not really actively working on yet. And then backlog is like a bucket for issues that you're not working on at the moment and they're not scheduled. Similarly, I have collapsed columns here for the 3 groups that I cover. And so they're just going to repeat, like show issues that fit the criteria. So assigned to me and in that group. So you could see they will repeat because they're different criteria per column. So follow up from enable group level description templates by default shows up in both backlog because this is the milestone it's assigned to, and this label. Yeah. So that's more or less how I use issue boards.
Martin, do you want to maybe show what you would do next with that board? Like take the current milestone maybe, and just to show that workflow and how it relates to other features in GitLab?
I mean, I can show something, but I don't know. But so I use, yeah, okay, I don't know. I use these boards. Share again. Right. So here we are at the one with my name that shows issues assigned to me. And well, the way I would use it is if I'm not working, if I have capacity to pick up more issues, I would, for example, look into the backlog for issues that already have me assigned, or I would, for example, change so that I'm not seeing, change the scope so I'm not seeing issues assigned to me, but for example, issues from a specific group, but without any assignee and maybe documentation label, to pick something to work on. And so, for example, if I wanted to start working on one of the issues here, I would move it to the 16.9 column. And what happened in the issue itself is because I moved it there, you could see the milestone was changed from, I think, backlog to 16.9. So moving the cards to the columns with a specific scope applies the scope to it. So for example, if I moved it to one with a label and it didn't have the label would be applied. This what you meant, Gina?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I had a few follow-up questions. It seems like in GitLab for like sprints, you guys use milestones as like a fixed period of time. Do you guys use iterations because I think to me conceptually these two are a little bit similar, as in like they're like fixed time frames and kind of like a sprint. Just curious.
Yes, we use both. We have introduced iterations recently. I can link an agile tutorial that we have that talks a little bit about those differences and how to use the two types of objects together.
At a high level, I think we're basically using milestones for releases, and then iterations are maybe multiple within a milestone.
And they cover time instead of a portion of feature that you're delivering.
And then also another quick question that I had is, in terms of like using scope labels and just like general labels, like I guess like how do you determine which one to use over the other? Or I'm assuming it's probably dependent on the team and how they structure it.
I can answer that one. So scoped labels, you do not want multiple answers of the from that one set. Like, for example, something should not be in workflow, but also completed. Whereas standard labels, they are independent of each other. Scoped labels, just you can only have one of the set. Like the group labels, you should only have an issue belonging to one group, except when that's problematic, and we won't talk about that. Looking at you, paper cuts, folks. Waiting for Chad to say something there.
I genuinely don't know what you're talking about, actually.
We've had discussions in the past about whether paper cuts, for example, should be in a scoped label or if it should be its own label. Because if it's in the scoped label, then you can't mark what group it's for.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a scope label, and it's not.
It used to be.
Oh, I see. That was before my time.
I made sad noises because it's paper cuts, but now it doesn't show up on my group's boards. Ah. So there's a real life example for you.
Something
Also-
related. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go, Chad. You're good.
Something kind of related to that you may have noticed if you were paying very close attention to what Martian was showing you is that boards are visible to everybody who has access to the group or project that owns them. So Martin showed us a board that was called Technical Writer Martian SJ or something. He called it that because everyone can see it. And if it were a board that was private to him, he probably wouldn't put his own name on it like that. This also means that you can set up boards that are like kind of a standard template that everybody could use, and then they can like kind of customize their own view of it. But yeah, they're almost always based on labels or assignees or milestones.
Or iterations.
The information about the labels and milestones, etc., those are appended to the URL as get variables, so they're easy to change.
One other note I just wanted to make. At GitLab, we use a lot of labels, as you could see. A lot of our GitLab users do not use them in the same way that we do. I don't have specific examples as to how many labels other companies use, but they certainly do not use the amount that we do. So although I feel like we have a lot more complex boards than other companies, although this is an assumption because I don't know the research around that. I just assume it is. So you might, if you talk to other users who don't have 10,000 labels like we do at GitLab, you might see other pain points arise that you're not hearing about from us, I guess.
I have a question regarding how do you create like an issue board? Because from what I'm seeing on this layout, I only see a tab called issues. And then if I click on the plus sign, there's like a new issue, but I think it's only creating like independent issues. I'm just wondering like how can I organize them into like board or creating a board?
Would you like to see a demonstration?
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
that'd be
Before
great.
you
Yeah.
demonstrate,
Yeah.
where do you think that should go?
Oh,
Just doing a little bit of renegade research here because you're talking about something
Yeah.
that annoys me a lot, and I want to see
oh,
what.
really? Okay. Can I just share my screen
Yeah.
to let you guys see what I'm seeing? Oh, Fa, could you go to the security setting and just set it to like everyone can share their screen? Okay, nice. Let's see. It's here, right? Okay, yeah, this is what I'm seeing. So I see issues and I also see others. And then when I clicking issues, I guess if I'm imagining this as an issue board, I would want to see something like a button that kind of say like merge or like create issue board, either like here or here.
Mm.
But yeah, so far I only see like independent issues. And then maybe my second instinct is to click here because it says like create new.
Hmm.
But then I think this is the same functionality as the issues one, if I just click to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you've clicked on new issue, the sidebar has revealed the place that you can go to see issue
Oh,
boards.
nice.
Yeah. It's buried in the plan drop down in the sidebar.
I see.
Yeah.
So
And you can pin it to the top for your own personal use. And you can also, like, if you hover over them, there's like a little grab bar on the left you can use to rearrange them. I don't know how often users notice that or whatever. But yeah, that's where boards are. It's under the plan accordion in the sidebar.
okay, so it is separate from the issue tab
Mhm.
in a way. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Correct. If you click issues, or similarly, if you were in a group, not a project, the similar thing applies to epics. It's you land on like a list view,
Hmm.
and then epics would also have an
Yeah.
epics boards.
So issues is the
button.
fire hose, and then you can search and filter in there, and then boards is more the Kanban view.
Okay, yeah.
But there's no way to, if you're looking at a single issue, you can't be like add to this board or anything, right? Okay.
No, and I think that's because board membership is not, it's not idempotent. It's based on a filter.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for indulging me. But going back to something that Gina mentioned, also something important to note is like we do internally at GitLab use our own product in a way that's like maybe a bit different than our users. So when you're talking with people about how this should work and pain points they have or whatever, do try to prioritize things you hear from users that don't work at GitLab. Because we are not our users. We happen to also use it, but we have like our own weird thing. We're just one company that uses this product.
Yeah, and for the resources page that you guys gave us, like, I guess like what is the demographic for people that were interviewed?
That is a terrific question. I'm gonna look back at the benchmarking issue just to see what the users were that they recruited, and I will tell you.
And for like, let's say the problem that we want to tackle later on, is there a specific like type of company or like demographic of users that you like us to focus on?
Company size, that's also a good question. So when we recruit for research projects, we usually think about persona, which is, for this case, you're gonna look at at the product managers, who we call Parker. We give names to each of our personas. So we say Parker, product manager, Delaney, engineering manager, or a technical lead. I would concentrate on those two. And as for company size, that's another thing that we usually take into account. I'm not sure that matters as much for this case. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, the area that I work in at GitLab, I work specifically with our enterprise customers, which is like our largest customers, because they tend to bring their own runners because they have like a lot of security practices that they follow. So I tend to usually talk to enterprise customers. But for this one, because everybody has access to issues and issue boards, I don't think that that plays as much of a role. So you could talk to whatever size.
You also may want to consider team size more as a factor in like the way that you analyze your findings, as opposed to like narrowing down who you want to talk to. Because, you know, frankly, also you don't have a ton of time or access to a ton of users. So like I'd say talk to anybody you can and make sure you figure out what their team size is. And then you could use team size as a way of looking at trends in your findings later.
Yep, also a great point. And I also just looked at the benchmarking study, and they included 20 personas, 20 participants, and 12 of them were product managers and 8 were engineering managers, but it doesn't say what size business they were right now. I'll see if I can find more. Also, as I'm looking through their recruit, they also had a mix of users with at least 6 months experience of GitLab, and they had also new GitLab users. And that plays a big role in when you're analyzing the findings as well, because, for example, just from this call, like being able to create a new board without any experience with GitLab is confusing if you don't know like what issues are and how they relate to other features within GitLab. So you'll probably see different like themes coming about from new GitLab users versus for current GitLab users.
Yeah, thank you for that information. I think we're trying to start, I guess, interviewing users soon. And we're just wondering, because I think from last meeting, you said that there's a recruitment process for the users. And if we want to get started on that process, are there like any specific steps that we should do?
Yes, so I will create the issue for you, but if you could create a Calendly with times that you're available to meet with the participants.
Okay, yeah.
And then another thing that we would need from you is a discussion guide, which is really just like a doc with the questions that you want to ask from them. And also, if you want help, you could put that into our Slack channel and we can review it with you. Those are the main 2 things that we need from you. Oh, and then a Zoom link for, yeah, for meetings. And I can share the issue in Slack too, although it's confidential. So no, I will just share updates with you and then grab those links from you when you're ready.
Okay, yeah, we will definitely have a look into it and update you guys through Slack. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I would say though that once you have a good draft for your script for your interviews, try not to rely on our recruitment pipeline as the only way that you find people, because that'll take a little bit of time.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing if you want. So it's a question about scope of the project, I guess, is if you wanted to meet with new GitLab users, I mean, there's plenty of students that you could reach out to, to use. I think if you want to look for GitLab users, Chad gave you another place that you can look on Reddit. Or you could rely on us to get you recruitment, which happens pretty quickly. I guess this is more up to you, yeah, as to like where you want, or if you want to mix, you could always do that. You could do a mix of participants too.
Yeah, I think it's good for us to get as many users as possible just to, understand their perspectives.
Were there other questions that you had on the agenda that we didn't answer yet?
Seems like most of the questions were answered. Yeah, I think mostly like next steps on our end is probably narrowing down the scope of the project, like in terms of who we want to reach out to. So maybe either through the labs channel or what Chad mentioned, using the subreddit for GitLab to recruit people, and then come up with questions for that. And then I think it'd be really great if we can also have access to past interview recordings, maybe for the usability benchmarking or for like any recordings of people using issue boards. I think that'll be a good reference for us to start with.
Yeah, and just to, I'm sorry, are you gonna speak? I saw you unmute.
No, you're good.
Oh, yeah, just to make sure that like I understand, like our next steps properly and like where we're at right now. So is the goal of the project basically just to like improve like issue boards in general?
Yeah, we kept it super broad, and now I'm realizing maybe the broadness was not the best thing. But yes, it's just to focus on the usability of issue boards.
Okay, yeah, and then in terms of narrowing down the scope, like let's say if you were as like looking at the information we have now, being like basically like interns, like basically not knowing like what the product functionalities are, etc. So you would suggest that we would kind of like read through the doc that you send us and see which one has the highest severity level, and maybe like use those as a starting point and then to like structure the interview questions about.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do. I think there's two routes. You could definitely take that route where you focus on the severity of the existing research findings and then focus the questions on that. Or you could just create the research projects just generally around like create an issue and then add it, I don't know, create an issue board and see how people do that if you just want to observe them using issue boards. And then maybe combine the findings that you get from that research study with the existing research and prioritize the severity from there. I think it totally depends on what you want to do. Either is definitely viable. You can do it. You can do either.
Cool, thank you.
I guess if we don't have any other questions at this point, or like on both sides, we probably can end this meeting early, and then all of us can have like 8 minutes back. Yeah, yeah, we definitely will work on our next steps and keep you guys updated on any issues or any updates. And thank you so much for being here and answering the questions for us. And I will see you, well, we will see you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.